All right, everyone. I am officially here. It is a balmy 25 degrees Celsius here in my fine hometown of Lethbridge, Alberta. I am just going to give a few minutes for this live express entry Q&A for some people to start joining. I know when I start to broadcast it, it usually takes a little bit before people are able to connect. So I'm going to turn it on and we'll just give a few seconds for some people to start showing up. I'm starting to see people now. When you're on, just give me a thumbs up and I'll know you're hearing me loud and clear. It's kind of a late time to do it. Today I decided to do it at 10 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, so I'm feeling a little tired. But today's been a good day. I retook my firm photo, so I'm pretty excited about that. It's a far, far better improvement from the one that I used to have. In fact, while we're waiting for people to join, I'll just show you, if you haven't gone to my firm website, I took this picture just before March when I joined the firm. So it would have been the very end of February. But I'm just going to share my screen and I'm going to show you it as soon as I can find it here. So bear with me as I just ramble on till we get everybody connected here. Like I said, it takes some time for people to realize that the video is live. So I'm going to be patient this time and not just rush into the content. But I'm going to show you my old picture. It's hilarious. It was unbelievably motivating for me. So over the last, I guess, let's see, March, April, May, June, kind of 3 months, I've been going hard trying to get in shape just because the picture was so ugly. But let me just pull this up and you guys will get a kick out of this. It's hilarious. Okay, let's see if I can find me here. Oh, there I am. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I'm going to switch over so you can see my screen. And you can see right here, there's me. But actually, I got to blow this up even bigger. You get a kick out of this. Okay, look at that photo. Oh, my. That is something special. Let's blow it up. Yeah, so there's me, March 1st. I was approximately 44 pounds heavier than I am right now. I'll tell you, any of you out there who ride bikes, it made all the difference in the world for me. So anyways, I'm feeling a whole lot better about myself. But fortunately today I didn't ride my bike to work. I did drive. I retook the firm pictures. So pretty soon this picture is going gonzo. And I'm going to have a new one that I took today that isn't so embarrassing. I look like a walrus. That's what I describe myself as. So those of you who are familiar with the English English name for a walrus, yeah, that's how I felt. Anyways, I'm gonna jump back to the screen here. So so I'm happy to officially get rid of that picture. I had a good friend down in Texas who also does U.S. immigration, and she said, "Oh, Mark, that picture's awful. That's not you. I don't know who that guy is, but she said it looks awful. You got to get a new picture." So I realized, boy, I better do more than just take a new picture. I better do something about it. So anyways, hey, this is me. I'm a real person, and you are getting the full story. As my wife always complains, I often share far too much about myself that I probably should. Anyways, we've got a good group of people that are on, so thanks so much for putting up with me. I am now going to jump into a few little housekeeping matters as I describe them. I know that sometimes I talk too loud, and then I've been listening to the videos. So if my voice gets too animated and I'm talking too loud, leave me a comment and say, "Mark, you're talking too loud." But if the audio right now is okay, just give me a thumbs up. Because it's so late here, what I had to do was I'll show you this. I'll block this off. I had to tape my iPhone and turn the and turn the light on so that you could see me because it's dark out there. Okay, I'm getting some thumbs up. Good. So we've got some good audio. All right, anyways, so after all of this is done, there is a reason why I'm doing this special podcast right now. I'm catching a flight, and I got to keep talking into the right place here. I'm catching a flight at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning to fly out to Toronto to attend one of the events that I love more than anything. This year I don't have to speak at it, which is awesome. I can just spend time hanging out with my friends and attending the sessions and learning from the other lawyers. But it's our National Canadian Bar Association National Immigration Section Conference. And it's awesome because all of the government officers, all of the decision makers, the Department of Justice lawyers, actually there's always a Department of Justice lawyer who chairs the conference with our national CBA chair. And it is one of the preeminent immigration conferences every year because the government attends. They're on every panel. I think it was last year I did a panel on express entry, and we had the head officials from that oversee express entry. They were there, able to answer questions. So I'm going to have a ton to share with you about express entry. Now, also, we've had some changes just here on June the 6th that became live. And if you have submitted your profile, I'm going to give you a little bit of pointers here today on what you can do to make sure that you're capturing all those points. So why are we doing it now? Why am I rushing to do this Express Entry Live Q&A at this late hour when I should be in bed getting ready to fly out to Toronto tomorrow? It's because of, let me just see if I can find it, because of this. We reached 25,000 members of this group. It's unbelievable. In the early days, I thought, hey, this is going to be kind of neat. We'll get a couple thousand people. But can you imagine that? 25,000 people. So all of these people with the thumbs up, that's fantastic. Like Joel and Naharik and Anshan and Bello and Thomas. And it's amazing. I should really take a course in pronouncing all of your names, especially all of you from continental Asia. I know I'm butchering your names, so please forgive me. I know you probably have trouble pronouncing my last name. Most Canadians don't even pronounce it properly. Holthe is the last name. Anyways, that reminds me too. My name is Mark Holthe. I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer practicing in the beautiful province of Alberta, and I live in the city of Lethbridge, Alberta. And so that's my background. That's, if you're wondering who I am, that's why I'm doing this. I was an ex-immigration officer. I was a high school teacher. So I'm combining all of these things into, I guess I better get rid of that. I'm combining all of these things into this awesome platform so I can do all the things that I love. All right. So 25,000. And do you know what? Since this 25,000 announcement that I did, we are already at, let me get the figure, 26,193. We've already surpassed 26,000 before I could even do this. So in honor of that, I am going to offer a prize. And I told a lot of you previously, I think I posted if you search for this image right here, that post, in there I listed that I was going to offer a 30-minute consultation to one of you fine people that are attending live. And right now, and I know this is a crazy time, but right now we've got about 28 people. But I'm going to choose one of you that is actually watching this live to receive a 30-minute consultation. And that 30-minute consultation, my hourly rate as a Canadian immigration lawyer within my firm here in Alberta, it's actually $400 an hour. And so a 30-minute consultation is $200, and then I have to charge 5% GST on a consultation. So it works out to about 210 Canadian dollars for a 30-minute consult. Well, I'm going to give one of you an opportunity to win that for free today, just for being a part of this live video. So many of you are going to ask, well, how do I do that? How do I get selected? Well, here's what's going to happen. And if you've been listening carefully, I've already given the answer. And so you'll have to search and think about this a little bit. But it's pretty simple. What I want you to do is to send me an email. And I'm going to put my email up here again. There's my email address right there. So you're going to send an email right here to mholthy@stringham.ca, and you are going to tell me the city I live in. So the question you have to email to me, and this isn't Messenger, this isn't in the comment section, so please don't put it in the comment section. That will give it away. You have to work for this. So you have to send me an email to mholthy right here at stringham.ca and tell me the city that I live in. And I've said it twice already. So, and I'll probably let it slip out a couple more times as we're going through here, just to give you a little bit of a reminder. But send that answer to this email, and then at the end, I will flip over and see which emails that I have received from you fine folks, and announce the winner. Simple as that. All right, let's dive into a few other things here. As always, this whole thing that I'm doing here, I spend actually money to get the message out. I just spent last month $1,000 Canadian through Facebook to get the message out to all of you that this Express Entry Law Facebook group even exists, because Facebook is terrible. If I'm just to post something, it doesn't get to you. They require that I pay. So I had to pay, and I put $1,000 of my own money in to get this group going. And I knew that if I had Jagdeep Thakur, it says not deliverable. mholthy@stringham.ca should work. Okay, I don't want anyone else to have problems here, but you can see here it's at stringham.ca, not .com. So make sure you send it to this one, mholthy@stringham, no H, it's just stringham.ca. So try it again, and it should get through there, Jagdeep. Okay, anyways, back to the focus. So I created this, but the reality is, as an immigration lawyer, I've got responsibilities to my law firm, so I can't just do this for free. I have to provide a living for myself. And so I had multiple reasons for creating it. Obviously, I want to get exposure, and I want people to know me, and I want people to hire me. But I realize that many of you, especially that are in Africa, that are in continental Asia, you can't afford my legal fees, and it's just too expensive. In fact, I have most of my clients, all of them, pay me $5,000 Canadian to assist them with the whole express entry process and to represent them. But many of you can't afford it. And so what I did, because I didn't want, I hated watching people hire unregulated consultants and people who didn't know what they were doing just because they thought that they would do better by hiring a representative, when most of the time the representatives, they don't learn any different than you guys are learning. They go online, they read the website, but they never understand the actual law. And so when problems arise, they actually learn off of the backs of their clients. And so your application is refused because they make a mistake, but then they learn, and then they do better the next time. Well, with all that being said, I decided, you know what, I'm going to create a complete step-by-step guide to doing the whole process yourself. And it's not just me telling you or creating this step-by-step list that I post in the comment section, or it's not just some kind of a little verbal, here's how you do it. I actually created this. And this right here, this Express Entry complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself, is a complete video walkthrough. So I walk you through step-by-step the whole process. And I'm going to take a second here, and I'm going to share my screen with you again. And I'm going to flip over, and I'm just going to take a second to show you. So when you log in, okay, and actually I'm going to go here. So I'll put a link to the course once again in the comment section. But when you go to the link, this is what you see. There's an introduction. the course is only $39 US per month. That's how much it is. And you can stay in as long as you want. You can go in for a month and then not extend because you've got the information you need, or you can stay in longer if you want. But anyways, all of the explanation, everything about it is set out in this link. And you can read all about why I do what I do. And then I'm just going to shrink this down, and then I'm going to pull this up. This here is what it looks like. This is the exact course. And I go through everything, learning the basics, what Express Entry is all about. So some of you don't even know what Express Entry is. And I get a lot of questions, and you've seen them on in the comments on our Facebook page. People say, I want to immigrate to Canada. How do I come to Canada? This is for you. This explains the whole process, what it is, how it works. And then I talk about preparing before you even submit, things that you can do to increase your chances of success. And then I go through the whole process of how to register to get your MyCIC account, all the way through the eligibility. And I've talked about this in previous Q&As, so I don't want to belabor it, but I know there's new people that are watching. I have individual lessons, as you can see here, that cover every single aspect of the Express Entry process. And so when you click on one of these links, it then takes you to an actual video tutorial where I walk you through. It's a real live situation, and I walk you through both the submission of your profile, this part right here, every step and how to fill it out, and then after you get your ITA, what it looks like, what to expect, and then submitting your electronic application for permanent residence. So no matter what stage of Express Entry you're at, this guide will help you. And so I created this as well as a list of frequently asked questions, and you can see they just go on and on and on, that are all designed to help you navigate the process at a cost that's affordable. It's totally affordable. And so this is how I am able to continue justifying running the Express Entry Law Facebook page and doing these Q&As. At $400 an hour, and answering your questions as often as I can, it really adds up. So I'm going to jump back to full screen here, and but I wanted to share that with you. So I'll put comments in the section. All right, below the video. Okay. With that being said, and with our prize that's going to be awarded here, some of you may just want to book a consult, and if you want to do that, I'll provide you a link in the comments as well for how you can book a consult. One thing I just want to reiterate, please do not send just generic questions here. If you want to participate and leave a question for me to answer in these Q&A videos, I need you to put EE Live Q&A in the subject line, and then I will answer it here. But please don't send emails here, because I cannot respond to all of them. And so if you want to book a consultation, a paid consultation, then I'll put the link here, and I'll flip back one more time, and I'll just show you here. This is what it looks like, and this is on my firm website. And you can just put your name and the questions that you have in here, and then we'll reach out to you and we'll set up that consult, and I can answer any specific questions you have and help you in any way. But I just wanted to reiterate that, because lots of people are sending me questions to my email address right here, and I can't. It's impossible with 25,000 people to answer those questions. And so the only way that I can do it is through this Q&A. And so please understand. All right, I'm going through my list of important things here. Okay, what I want to talk about now is the actual changes that occurred to Express Entry here on June the 6th. And some of you who have been following this will know that that on June the 6th, 2017, which is just yesterday, there was changes that are going to affect people positively, because they're going to give additional CRS points for people who fit within these requirements. And a couple Q&As ago, I went over and said this is what's going to happen in June, but now it's actually happened. So right off the bat, siblings and lots of people have been having challenges with that. you get an extra 15 points if you have a sibling in Canada. So that's a blood sibling, a brother, sister that has the same, at least one parent that's the same as you. And those sibling points, this is an important factor that you have to understand, work for the principal applicant, but it also works if you have a spouse. So the instructions that came out specifically said that you must share a mother or father with the principal express entry applicant, so that may be you, or their spouse or common law partner. So that means that if your spouse also has a sibling in Canada, then you can get those extra 15 points. And that could be the difference between receiving your invitation to apply for permanent residence in Canada or not. So when we're talking about the comprehensive ranking system, which many of you will be familiar with, that's how the government ranks everyone who is eligible to apply for permanent residence. You have to rank against other individuals, and then the government selects the top ranking individuals. So they set a pass mark for how high the point threshold has to be. And if your comprehensive ranking system score is higher than that pass mark, then you will receive an invitation to apply for permanent residence. Well, they've now given 15 points if you have a sibling in Canada. Those of you who speak French will also get bonus points. So if French is your first language and you don't even speak English, you can get an extra 15 points above and beyond the points you already received for your first language. Now, the advantage for people, they have to have at least a level 7 on the NCLC, which is the French language test. And that's for all abilities, not an average score. You can't have a 7 in listening, or let's say you can't have an 8 in listening and speaking, and then a 6 in reading and writing, and then average 7. That doesn't work. You need to have it in each ability: reading, writing, listening, speaking. Okay? So if you have that, you can get an extra 15 points. Is there anyone here who speaks French? So let's get some thumbs up. Just say yes if you speak French, because you are now have the ability to get 15 extra points. Now, for those of you who speak French and English, if you have a CLB level 7, so on the NCLC, the French test, and you have at least a CLB 5, and that's a Canadian language benchmark. Oh, Mohsen, sorry about that. He's got a sad face there. I love these emojis. They're awesome. If you also speak English as well as French, so a CLB 7 for the French test, and at least a 5 on the English for all disciplines, for all of those abilities, then you can get an extra 30 points. And that's a lot of points. So they're really rewarding French speakers, and they're rewarding people with siblings in Canada. Now, one other positive development is that they have removed that awful job bank, that completely useless process. So if you are now submitting your profile June the 6th, so now after June the 6th, it's June the 7th that I'm recording now, you will not have to register your profile within the job bank in order to have your actual express entry profile information put into the pool. So for your profile to go live, you don't have to submit that just ridiculous job bank anymore. So that registration. All right. And then I want to share just a couple last minute things as well. This is something that I think people don't really understand very well how it works. Sometimes there's a tie. In other words, if they set the pass mark, let's say at 413, and there were 1,000 people that had 413 points, and they're only accepting, say, 4,500. Well, what you have to understand is how the tiebreaker works is whoever has submitted their express entry profile first ranks higher than anyone who submitted after them. And so it's a first to apply or first to submit profile that would rank higher than the other people that input their profile later. So there's a date stamp on your profile. So you have to pay close attention to that. And that's how the tie goes. So if you're a person who had 413 points and this last draw, and you're wondering, well, why wasn't I given an ITA? Well, there might have been, 500 other people that also had a 413 score that ranked higher than you because they submitted their profiles before. And it's important to note that that date, time, and stamp that's affixed to your profile, that does not change if you go back and you're updating information within your profile. So you still retain that date stamp. But if you decide to cancel and resubmit your profile, then it's going to get reset and you're going to have one that's current from the time in which you resubmitted. So pay attention to that. And those are the changes as of yesterday. Congratulations to all you French-speaking candidates and for you that have family in Canada, in this case, a sibling. And it's important to understand that the sibling, the reason they do that is because they feel that if you have family in Canada, you have a better chance of becoming integrated and settle in Canada, which makes sense. All right, so there's the general teaching moment. Now we're going to shift gears and we're going to go straight to your questions. Now, Nadeep, I'm looking here. It's hard. I can't really scroll through. Oh, yes, I can scroll them back. Okay, let's see here. There's a ton of thumbs up and everything here. All right, let's see. I'm just looking here. Okay. Sanjeev said, can you please share some views about federal skilled trade, I think FSTC program, and also do they need to get 67 points as like federal skilled worker program applicants? Okay, so that's a good point. So I promised a Q&A ago, I think it was the last one, that I was going to cover the federal skilled trade program, because many of you will realize that there was 2 draws ago a draw that was focused specifically to provincial nominees and the federal skilled trade program, and the point threshold that the candidates had to pass was very low. And there was a reason for that, because usually trade level employees don't rank as high. Well, I will hold off on doing that, and I promise I'll do it in the next Q&A. Okay, Sanjeev? All right. Now, those of you that are here live, I'm going to try to answer some of your questions before I jump into the ones that were sent in, just because you're here and I want to reward you. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to try and keep them focused to express entry, okay? So if you have questions about other areas of immigration, I am going to leave those for now. Okay, Nadeem said, do you think the CRS score cutoff will increase with these changes? That's a really good question. Of all the people that are applying, and you can go through and you can see all of the statistics for where people are ranking, how many people are sitting in the pool between 350 and 375 CRS scores. You can see how many people are sitting in the pool currently between 400 and 430, for example. Well, lots of people have been speculating if more points are given for French and for family, then it'll be easier for those candidates who have a lower ranking right now, who maybe are sitting at 400 points. It will be easier for them to qualify because they'll be getting 430, or, for example, if they have the French, or 415, and maybe that then will prevent the ranking or the draw total from being lowered, because more people are going to have more points. Well, I think that there's not that many people that actually have siblings in Canada. And so I don't think it's going to have as big of an impact. And as you can see from these draws, more and more people are being flushed out. And the lower the comprehensive ranking system that draw drops, the more people that are going to be captured. And so I think that it is going to go down. I think it does have the potential of going down. There may be a little bit of a spike, when the very first draw comes through, where people are going to be able to qualify with these points, because there may be a lot of people that are currently sitting at a lower level. So I think there might be a little bit of a spike where the pass mark goes up. But I think in the long term, it's going to go down. So, and from what I've heard, and I'll have lots to report after the conference here, that is going to be on Friday and Saturday. I'm heading out Thursday tomorrow. I'll have a lot more intel to share with you. But good question, really good. Okay, here's a question from Kadir. Okay, even put EE Live Q&A. Okay, that's good. Now you need to send it to my email address too, but I'll try and answer this one. So he says, I got an invitation under the CEC, or the Canadian Experience class. My spouse can't recall all her activities and addresses for the past 10 years. How important is that? Having said that, she's a Canadian citizen, and I don't think if I get any points from her side. Oh yeah, this is one of the things, Kadir. I would not worry about that at all. Usually what I do is I do the best that I can to list the information. And if, sometimes the portal is a little bit glitchy and it doesn't let you advance if you have gaps in time. So you need to do the best that you can. Okay? So that's what your spouse needs to do. And it's a real pain because, I've seen that too. I just had one recently where a Canadian spouse was being required to put information in. But because you're at the EAPR stage, you don't have the flexibility to change that. So what I always do is I include a separate sheet, a separate attachment in the explanation letter of explanation section. And I just explain my wife can't remember all of, or I should say my spouse can't remember everywhere that she's lived in the past 10 years. But here are the places that she has lived. And you may not be able to remember the exact address, but you can for sure remember the city and the country. And that's the part that's important because that's where they want to do background checks. And if you lived in a country for more than 6 months since turning 18, then that's going to trigger the need for a police clearance for those countries. So that's, in short, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But if you can't get all the information in, do whatever it takes to get the profile completed. And then in the letter of explanation section, upload a separate document that you've, to explain why you weren't able to complete everything. All right. All right. Let's see who else we have here. Okay. I'll answer one more. So I'll answer Satwinder. Okay, Satwinder. Hi, Mark. I'm working at my father's business. I know where this is going before you even get there. I get my salary in cash along with salary slips from the last 3 years. My job is relevant to my education qualifications. Is this experience is valid for EE? All right. This is going to lend perfectly into one of my questions that I had sent to me. So hang tight and I'll explain. Okay, your question actually is comparable to some other ones that I've received. Okay, let's see if I can find the one here. Okay. This one will work. It took me a while. This one is from Mohsen. And Mohsen sent me a question. He said, hi Mark, hope you're doing fine. You're doing a great job in offering accurate information about immigration. Thank you, Mohsen. I appreciate that. My question in general is if someone has a work history in between his bachelor and master's degree, then what is experience will it be considered after bachelor or master's? Okay, this is a good question. Example, for me, my bachelor's degree was completed in 2007, and I'm working continuously after that, and also completed my post-graduation while working. So what will be considered in such case? Please consider this as it will definitely answer doubts for many applicants in Asia Pacific region. Okay, so here's what we need to do. I'm going to show you what is required to meet the eligibility requirements for the categories. I'm not going to delve into the federal skilled trade today just because I'm going to cover that in the next Q&A. But I am going to shift back over here and I'm going to pull up the federal skilled worker program. Just make sure everybody can see this. Now I'm going to blow this up so it's big. And I think everyone can see, but because I know some of you and many of you are actually watching this on on iPhones and things like that, I am going to blow this up even bigger. Okay. Federal skilled worker. Here's what's required, and this is important. So your work experience must be in the same job, the same type of job as your primary knock. So you can only count work experience in whichever primary knock you're using. It has to happen within the last 10 years, so you can't actually count work experience from multiple different jobs. It's only one. It must be paid work, so it can't be volunteer. So in the case, so let me just jump back here for 1 second here so I can get back on. So in the case of, in the case of Satwinder, I apologize, it's hard. I have to figure out a way to watch this on a separate device, but I'm just learning. So in the case of Satwinder, who received compensation from his father's business, the money in that case actually doesn't really matter at this stage. It has to be paid, but you're going to be providing a reference letter confirming your work experience. And the reference letter is going to include your wage and how much you've been paid and those kinds of things. If you have a pay slip, whether it's deposited directly into your bank or whether you receive cash, as long as the reference letter confirms what you're paid and it's genuine, then you're okay. But it has to be paid work experience. And most of you outside of Canada, the only way you can qualify is through the Federal Skilled Worker or Federal Skilled Trade Program. But like I said, we're going to leave the Federal Skilled Trade. So it must be paid work. It must be at a skill type that is 0, A, or B on the National Occupational Classification System. And this is the 2011. And then it has to be at least 1 year. So that equates to 1,560 total hours and at least 30 hours per week. And it must be continuous. So no breaks in between, no cobbling together different work experiences. So 1 year continuous. And so that, Satwinder, that's the thing that's the most important. Not so much how you're being paid. It's just that you are being paid and that the reference letter accurately reflects that. Okay. Now another thing that I want to show, and I covered this in previous Q&As, you must show that your duties match those set out in the lead statement of that occupational description in the NOC 2011, and that you perform all of the essential duties and most of the main duties listed. Now this is it's a substantial number is the legal description. Most of the main duties. This is once again a good example of IRCC trying to make things easy for people to understand. But most, what does most mean? That's what it comes down to. What does that most mean? Well, some people have said maybe 75% or more. But the reality is there isn't a firm definition right now, but it has to match. So that's really what's important with this type of a scenario. And so you can see here, does it say anything about not being able to count work experience while you're going to school? As I scroll through this and as I've read the regulations, there's nothing. It says if you cannot show that your work experience meets the description in the NOC, you're not eligible under the program. But there's nothing here that says you cannot count work experience while you're going to school. And some of you do that. When you're going on to do your professional, your master's, PhD, you may be working while you're going to school. But regardless, you must meet these minimum requirements. At least 1,560 hours total, 30 hours per week and continuous. Okay? Or, and this is something that's new, I'm going to scroll down. For those of you who are really knowledgeable about the IRCC website, pay attention because look at this. This was last modified June 6, 2017, yesterday. And one of the huge improvements that they just added for all of you who get your information from the IRCC website is this explanation of this at least 1 year. And so it can be a full-time at one job. So you work at least 30 hours a week for 12 months, which totals at least 1,560 hours, or you can work an equal amount in part-time. So you work 15 hours a week at least, over a 24-month period to acquire your 1,560 hours. And some of you who are studying, that may just work for you. So you may be able to show that over that period of time, 24 months, 2 years, when you're completing your school, you were actually working in that same occupation. Now remember, if we go back, it has to be the same type of job as your primary knock. So if you're working in a different position and you're trying to accumulate your work experience from multiple different jobs, that isn't going to work. It has to be the same knock. It has to be the same primary occupation. Or you could work full-time at more than one job. So for example, you've accumulated 30 hours a week for 12 months at more than one job. So as long as all those jobs are still within your primary knock, then you can do it. So this is important to note. Now I want to show you something else. And also I want to point out that I can't see the comments while I'm doing this in full screen mode, so bear with me. If I click on here, this takes us to the Canadian Experience requirements. I want you to read this carefully. These are the minimum requirements, okay? You must have at least 12 months of full-time, or once again, an equal amount in part-time, skilled work experience in Canada in the 3 years before you apply. You have to, oh, I accidentally bumped that. It has to have been gained with proper authorization, so illegal work in Canada doesn't work. And you have to meet the minimum the minimum language levels. So if you're working in a knock B, that skill level B, which is trades and technical level, you have to have at least a CLB 5. If you are working in a professional occupation, a skill level A, or executive managerial O, then you need to have a minimum CLB 7, which is coincidentally the minimum score required for all federal skilled worker individuals. And plan to live outside of Quebec. But here's the part that you need to understand. If you're in Canada and you're going to school, the work experience that you gain while you're going to school doesn't count. And many of you can work up to 20 hours a week off campus while you're going to school. But that unfortunately doesn't count. It's too bad because you'd qualify as soon as you graduated if you were working in the same skilled occupation and were able to accumulate those hours. Does that make sense? Let's read this. Self-employment, so you can't be self-employed, and work experience gained while you were a full-time student, for example, on a co-op work permit term, does not count under this program. So that's where there's the conflict between education, going to school, and work. If you're in Canada and it's the Canadian Experience class that you're qualifying under, then you can't use that work experience that was accumulated while you were going to school. But outside of Canada, yeah, if you meet those minimum requirements that we talked about right here, you know, if you can meet this at least 1 year and all of this information, then there's no reason why you can't. Okay? So that is essentially how it works when you're going to school and working. Okay, so Mohsen, hopefully that answered your question. All right, I am going to now jump back to my video screen here and all your fine comments. All right, so hopefully that answered some of your questions. Okay. Okay. Cameron Ali asks, "Hi Mark, my previous query about lawyer and agent pros and cons." I know where this is going. All of you consultants who have joined the group, and I don't know, who you are. I know I have immigration consultants that are in the group that are wonderful, that are very good, that spend the time to learn not just what the government website says, and not just learn off the backs of their clients who get their lives ruined because you make mistakes, but the consultants who actually understand the regulations, the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, the Immigration and Refugee Protection Regulations, and the ministerial instructions, and everything else associated with the law side of immigration. You people are wonderful. But there are so many agents out there that are operating in their home countries that may be able to speak English a little bit. So they go on the website and they read and then proclaim themselves experts. And a lot of them do learn off the backs of their clients. And I don't know how else to say it. If you've never done an application before, let's take Express Entry. Some of you have gone through the process. Some of you have probably even landed and become permanent residents but are still a part of the group. Well, you learned a lot through that process. Maybe you made some mistakes. Maybe you got your application returned. Maybe you gained some insight about WES and what it takes to get your credentials assessed, and because of your personal experience. Well, that's wonderful, and you've got a lot to share. Well, if you're someone who has gone through that process 100 times with people, well, you have the only thing that's going to happen is that you're going to, by the process of just doing applications, you're going to learn more and more about it. But the problem that I have is that there's a lot of consultants that don't pay attention to even the changes, or they just don't know what they're doing, and they destroy people's lives. And when it comes to qualifying as a certified immigration consultant, an ICCRC, which I hear about people all the time, are you, Mark, an ICCRC? No, I'm not, because I am an immigration lawyer. I went through 5 years of undergraduate degree. I got my BA/BEd, my education to be a teacher, as well as my kinesiology and my Bachelor of Arts. And then I went to 3 years of law school. And in my class, there was about 10% of the applicants that were admitted to law school. Of the 2,000 people that submitted applications, when the first year was maybe 115 or something. And so it was extremely difficult to get through. And so there's a huge difference between the legal training of an immigration lawyer versus a consultant who, by and large, can take an evening course that's once a week for a period of 6 months, write a pass or a fail test, and then voila, they are certified to practice. And there are lawyers out there that dabble in immigration that don't know what they're doing. But the one thing I give lawyers is that if they screw something up, you report them to the Law Society. If I make a mistake on my client's file and I'm negligent, you can report me to the Law Society of Alberta and I can be disbarred. I can lose my right to practice. So I can guarantee that I make sure that I understand the law. Well, when it comes to the regulation of consultants, it's a complete joke. And right now, in the House of Commons Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration, they're actually trying to determine whether to allow consultants to remain self-regulating. In other words, they have their own regulator, but when people file complaints, there's no real mechanism to go after people that are ruining your lives. And the standard to become a consultant is so low that, and trust me, I know I've had some students come in my office to do their practicum, and it scares me that they're out representing you. So just because maybe they can speak English or maybe did it themselves, and anyway, so I've gone far enough. The reality is everybody has to make choices that are right for them. But I'll tell you, if it was my life and my future, I wouldn't be putting it in the hands of someone who didn't even live in Canada, someone who didn't even understand the laws, whose only experience is doing what you do right now. Go on the website, go on immigration forums. So that's my opinion. Now, with that being said, one of my best, closest colleagues and friends, Billy Young, is a ICCRC consultant, and she is phenomenal. She's better than 90% of the immigration lawyers that I know. She's awesome. Why? Because she worked as an immigration officer for years and years and years. She learned to apply the law. She approved applications. And so that's the difference. And, and so she brought this whole background with her. When she then went to go do the consultant certification, it was more of a formality. I said, look, I don't need to be reviewing your packages before they go out. You need to get your own certification because you are fully qualified to do this. And she's awesome. And there are many other awesome consultants out there. But there are far more, overwhelmingly more, that really have no business practicing. And it just irritates me. But I'm in Canada, I charge Canadian legal fees, and I understand that people can't afford it. And I'll pull it back right here. I'm pulling it right back to me here in my lovely hometown of Lethbridge, Alberta. That's Lethbridge, Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. That's why I created this. $39 US a month. I poured all of the knowledge that I'm giving you right now into this. And I show you how to do it. So people that are even just trying to save time, it's worth it just for that. People who are intelligent can sort through everything and figure it out. You know, they won't always know all the tips and strategies because it's their first venture into this. For me, I've submitted so many I can't even count. And with that comes experience. And then I overlay my understanding of the law, and that's what I have in this. All right? Okay, I think I killed that one to death. All right, come on. Now you can't say that I didn't answer your question. Okay, and I'm looking at the time here, and it's almost 11 o'clock. My goodness. And you guys are still sticking with me. So just to reiterate, those of you who would like to be eligible, we've got, I'll say another 10 minutes. 10 minutes to send me an email. And in that email, you are going to indicate the city that I live in. And I just told you. So you have to, and this is to help you practice your English listening skills and writing as well when you send me the email. But send me an email to this and answer the question, which is, what city does Mark live in? Okay? Lethbridge, Alberta. Okay, there you go. All right, so I'll close that off in about 5 minutes. Let me get to a few more questions that were sent in by people in the proper format that I told them to. Okay, so this one is from Gagan, and he says, Dear Sir, I have done Bachelor in IT from India 4 years, but my experience is not relevant to my qualification as I am working as a sales manager in a real estate company. I want to know that I can apply for express entry whilst my experience is irrelevant to my education. Will it affect my CRS score? So, let's go back. Here we go. Vroom. And let's pull it up again, and let's take a look here. And I'm going to blow this up big. This is what you're looking at to qualify. This is the eligibility, all right? In order to have your work experience count, if I read through this and you can read through it yourself, and we're using the government's policy, I'm not going to take you to the regulations because that would just be too confusing. But you can see here, it doesn't say anything right here about education. And in all honesty, I think it probably makes sense for us to just take a little peek at this. So I'm going to put this up here, and I think the best thing to do is probably, okay, let's see, find your knock. Just trying to think. Okay, so let's just pick one here so that you can see. Okay, financial managers, for instance. I'm going to use this as an example. And I know that we probably don't have a lot of financial managers, but I want to show you this. This is how it works. So this is super bonus, folks. This is what I charge people for. This is what's in the course. So you're getting, because you're dedicated and you're here watching, you're getting this extra tidbit. So this is the knock. This is a profile. So if we flip back here, oh, I deleted it. Okay, give me a second here. I'm going to pull this back up. Come on. Okay, there it is. Okay, so this is what we're talking about here. You must show that you did the duties set out in the lead statement of the occupational description in the knock. Okay, so let's jump back. The lead statement is right here, lead statement. So if you wanted to qualify as a financial manager, then you need to perform these activities. They plan, they organize, direct, control, and evaluate the operations of a financial and accounting department. Okay? They develop and implement financial policies and systems of establishments. They establish performance standards and prepare various financial reports for senior management. And then it says they're employed in these different places. So all of these things, yes, you need to. But then if we go back here, you'll see it also says including all the essential duties and most of the main duties listed. I can tell you that essential duties, if we go back here and I look, there's no explanation as to what essential duties are. Why it's in the regs, I personally don't know, and maybe someone does. But essential duties, they're not defined anywhere. So if we go back here, it says most of the main duties listed. So we go back to Financial Manager and we look, here are the main duties. So the regulations read a substantial number. So financial managers perform some or all of these duties. So if you perform a substantial number of these duties, then you've got the right knock. This is the right position. But the question was, and if I go back to what Gagan asked, he said, my bachelor's is in IT from India, but he's working as a sales manager in a real estate company. Well, the reality is, if we look down here, employment requirements, these things here, in order to work in this occupation in Canada, you need to have a bachelor's degree in business admin, economics, commerce, or a related field. So this one right here. And then the key that I want to point you all to is that is required. Anytime it says is required, if you want to work in Canada, you need this, okay? A master's degree here may be required. That means it's not mandatory. And then several years of experience in accounting or these other things, once again, are required. And then accounting and audit managers may require a recognized accounting designation. So anything that says may, and you can see here may, those are optional. They're not mandatory. But business admin, economics, that bachelor's degree is required, and several years of experience are required. But here's the point I want you to understand. Let's go back to the federal skilled worker. You must show that you did the duty set out in the lead statement of the occupational description in the NOC, including all the essential duties and most of the main duties listed. If you cannot show that your work experience meets this, then you're not eligible. Does it say anything about this? Does it say anything about employment requirements? No. So even if you didn't have this, but you performed those duties, so even if you didn't have a bachelor's degree, now it's pretty unusual that you're not going to have education to be working in a professional financial manager position. But for the purposes of qualifying for express entry, education does not have to match. All right? So hopefully that was clear enough for everyone. I'm just going to jump back here. All right. Well, we've crossed over 1 hour, and it is time now for us to go and take a look and see who's responded to my email. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through there, and I have a number in my mind right here. And that number, whichever email in the order that I read them, is on that number. It's kind of like a radio show. Be the fifth caller in to, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, to tell what restate the top 7 songs of our top 7 list of hit singles. Well, this one is actually going to be number 5. So whoever is number 5 tonight is going to be the winner. So I'm going to go and take a look right now. So you're going to have to look at the side of my head, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you who the winner of the 30-minute consult is. Okay? With the correct answer. And those of you will know it's Lethbridge. Holy cow, there's a lot of you. Okay, it's not Toronto, it's not Calgary, so I'm only counting the correct answers. Ah, 1, 2. We have a winner, and the winner is and I actually had to go through quite a few to get 5 consecutive correct answers. So there's our winner. Right there, Jagdeep. All right, so I've got your email address, Jagdeep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my assistant reach out to you to set up a time for your 30-minute consult. So thank you. There's the thumb. Yeah, good job. I want to thank all of you for being on the Q&A. It's awesome, and I wish that there was a better time. I haven't found it yet. The mornings are really tough trying to get kids to school and hop on my bike and ride to work, and it's really tough to do it early in the morning. But I'm going to continue to try to find a time where I get the most people. If it looks like the morning is the best, then that's the direction that we'll go. But at this stage, I appreciate everyone that's been a part of this. Thanks so much for watching. If you have questions, remember, it's EE Live Q&A, and here's my email address. But for consults, remember, I'll put in below in the comment section, I'll put the link where you can get to my website if you do want to book a consultation. And and once again, I want to thank the Canadian Immigration Institute right here for sponsoring this, because without this, none of this would happen. So I'll put a link once again in the comment section for that as well. So thank you, everyone. I'm excited to come back and share everything that I learned about Express Entry. I want to thank you once again for being a part of something that is just absolutely unbelievable. And let me see if I can find it here. Here it is. Once again, 25,000, which is actually 26,000. And I want to thank everybody for posting comments. It's always difficult when you're doing a live Q&A to be able to answer questions while I'm actually doing the Q&A. And so I'll try to catch up with answers over the course. While I'm traveling, I'll have time to respond. Usually when I'm in the airport sitting and not doing anything, I've got time to respond to the comments. So I'll try to answer the comments within here. But thanks to all of you. I think we were up to just about 40 maybe at one time. But thanks so much for sticking it out. And I wish you all the best as you battle your way through this crazy world of Canadian Express Entry. Take care, everyone.